What's up YouTube? This is your favorite movie nerd, here to update all of you on the annual movie news, reviews, and clues. So the year of 2015 is finally over. What an incredible year it has been for the world of cinema. But with the passing of this year, it comes time for me to make my top 10 best of the year list. Now I'm not gonna lie, this year turned out to be a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. Now while I have not seen every single movie this year, I have seen as many as I could. So if there's a movie in there that you wanted to be in there, tough luck. Make your own list. Before we get started, here are some honorable mentions. So without further ado, let's begin. So coming in at number 10 was the next hit from Pixar, and that was Inside Out. My God, what an emotional punch. Over the past couple of years, they had been sort of missing the mark with a bunch of half-assed sequels, but man, did they manage to bring it back this summer in a hit that not only appealed to young and old, but also proved to be much smarter than a lot of their original entries. So that's it, coming in at my number 10, Inside Out. So coming in at number 9, or in this case driving in, was a passion project that nobody expected to be as good as it was, and that was Mad Max Fury Road. Taking place 30 years after the last entry, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, director George Miller once again took to the deserts of Australia in order to make this passion project that was filled to the brim with practical effects and turned out to be one of the not only one of the summer's best hits, but also one of the best action blockbuster hits of the past 5 years. He replaced Mel Gibson with Tom Hardy in another role that caused this actor to have an incredible year, and also created a very inspiring role for females, and that was the role of Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron. This movie had so much action in it, I didn't even want to take a break even for a little bit, and it proved to be one of my favorite hits not only of the summer, but of 2015 as well. My number 9 spot, Mad Max Fury Road. Coming in at number 8 is another one of my favorite hits of the summer, and that is the NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton. My God, I was not expecting this movie to be as good as it was. F. Gary Gray took a huge risk by casting a relatively unknown cast, and it paid off in one of my favorite hits of the summer. This movie showed us the full backstory of NWA and did not take any sidelines when it came to showing us the crap that these guys had to go through in the startup of one of the best rap groups of all time. Although they were a little skittish with the Dr. Dre with the women stuff, for the most part, this movie was another 5 out of 5 for me for the year. My number 8 pick, Straight Outta Compton. Coming in at number 7 is a movie that had production problems galore from the start, but man, did they not show in the final product, and that would be Steve Jobs. The Danny Boyle directed, Aaron Sorkin written machine took a wildly different turn from the Jobs movie released back in 2013, focusing rather on 3 major releases than doing a simple biopic, telling Jobs' story by portraying the entrepreneur and his different interactions with all the people around him. Fantastic performances all the way, especially from the likes of Fassbender, Winslet, and Rogen. My number 7 pick, Steve Jobs. Coming in at number 6 was the movie that put Ridley Scott back on the director's map for me, and that was The Martian. For a movie about a man stranded on Mars, this movie was funny as hell. Matt Damon's performance was literally out of this world as Mark Watney, and Ridley Scott, while he may have fallen out of favor in the past couple of years with the past couple of stinkers, this movie put him back on the director's map for me. As far as I'm concerned, he can spend the rest of his days directing aliens movies, and I will not care even a little bit, because he managed to bring it back in October with my number 6 pick, The Martian. Coming in at number 5 is a movie that I saw quite recently. In fact, I only saw it this past Saturday, but my god, it blew my mind so much that this movie is actually the movie that beat out The Hateful Eight for my top 10, and that would be Ex Machina. Holy crap, this movie was deep. For such a small movie with only 3 major cast members, this movie threw so many ideas at me at once that I actually had to step back and take a look at it multiple times. Fantastic performances from Star Wars co-stars Donald Gleason and Oscar Isaac, but particularly from breakout star Alicia Vikander, who went on to have an incredible year starring in hits The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and The Danish Girl. So that would be my number 5, Ex Machina. Coming in at number 4 is the next installment in one of my favorite franchises of all time, and that is Creed. This movie could have been a simple Rocky retread, but it wasn't. Ryan Coogler breathed so much fresh air into this franchise that is 40 years old, bringing out the best in his performance and telling a story that, while it is essentially the same as the first installment, revamped it for a new generation. Michael B. Jordan knocked it out of the park in this role, but Ryan Coogler also gave Sylvester Stallone the chance to give one of the best performances of his life, quite possibly the one that gets him the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. So that is my pick for number 4, Creed. Coming in at number 3 is another small movie, but one that packed a massive emotional punch, and that was Spotlight. Taking a look at the Boston Globe Spotlight team as they worked to uncover the Catholic Church sex scandal of the early 2000s. This was a movie that I thought would be good, but it did a total 180 by telling a story in a method that's very unlike Hollywood, which is a very non-attention drawing kind of a way. It had one of the best ensemble casts I've seen all year, particularly those from Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, Liev Schreiber, and really everyone that was involved. That's why this movie makes my number 3 spot, Spotlight. Coming in at number 2 is one that might shock a few people in that it's so high on my list, but that is The Big Short. So this movie might be the biggest surprise that I saw this year, because the director, Adam McKay, is known for bringing us some of the most hilarious comedies. These include Anchorman, Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, but the reason why this movie was such a huge surprise is because this comedy director managed to craft a darkly funny, extremely intensely scary drama about the housing crisis back in 2008 and the individuals who saw it coming years before and were able to profit off of it. This movie both shocked me and entertained me because the performances from all 4 of the leads were some of the best all year, but there was also the fact that this movie was so scarily real, but McKay still managed to inject his personal touch of comedy, and you could see it at certain parts. Surprisingly, most of the humor came from Gosling, but I have a feeling that a lot of the awards credit is going to go to Steve Carell and Christian Bale. So that's why my number 2 is The Big Short. Well, here it is, my number 1, and of course, no one should be surprised by this when I say that it is none other than Star Wars: The Force Awakens. This movie made my number 1, not because it was the best movie I saw all year, but because it was one of the best experiences of 2015. I had such a blast seeing this movie the first time in theaters, and the second time in theaters, and the third time in theaters, and I'm probably going to have just as great a time when I go to see it the 4th and 5th time in theaters. J.J. Abrams had quite possibly the most difficult job on the planet, having to bring back a franchise that had been ruined by the Star Wars prequels that George Lucas did back in the early 2000s. But man, did he deliver. He didn't deliver a perfect movie because J.J. Abrams is not known for doing that, but man, did he deliver one that really got me back into the universe in the best way possible. He gave all the diehard fans just the right amount of nostalgia by bringing back the old characters, but by actually making them characters and not just old farts that were passing the torch on, but also added a whole bunch of new characters that were even more compelling than the original set. So now it fills me with hope to know that there's going to be a Star Wars movie every year from now until 2020 because JJ brought it back for me in the best way possible. So that's why my number one is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Well, that's it. Those are my top 10. I'm really sad that this year is over, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to a brand new year that's going to be filled to the brim with movies, sequels, and original hits of all shapes and sizes. So for more on that, check out my list of the top 10 most anticipated movies of 2016, which I will post in the description here. Also, be sure to visit my website, movienerdreviews.com, and follow me on Twitter @movienerdreviews. That's it. I'll see you next time.